So today I want to talk about option premiums, or the price you pay for an option. I want to think about what determines a fair price for an option. Now, I previously talked about basic options, calls and puts, what your rights are as a buyer of an option, and what your obligations are as a seller of an option. I've also talked about various payoff profiles for basic option strategies. Now, you can check out those videos by following these links right here. Today, of course, I want to talk about the premium. Now, there are two basic methodologies for determining what an option is worth. One is a binary option model. One is a Black-Scholes model. The basic idea is you're trying to determine what the probability is that an option will be worth something, will be in the money at expiration. That helps you determine its current price. So let's go ahead and look at a call option at expiration, okay? As a buyer of an option, you have a right, or you have the right to buy a stock at a given exercise price. So if the current price is greater than the exercise price, it is worth something, okay? You are able to buy it at a cheaper price than it's currently trading in the market. Okay, this is, of course, intrinsic value. It's also what it's worth exactly at expiration, but there are other components involved in option pricing. So if we look here, we can see that, of course, yes, we do have that intrinsic value for a call. That is the market price, or the strike, or the spot price, minus the strike or exercise price. But there are other things to keep in mind kind of prior to expiration. There is time to consider. So the more time there is until expiration, the more value you can give to an option, or the more value an option has. The greater the volatility, the more value an option has, given that it has a greater chance of becoming in the money. Now, the rate of interest is a little bit unique because it varies depending on the option. But if you think about it, there's two things involved here. So there is, if you're a buyer of a call, so there is kind of the interest rate you would pay on that premium, but there's also the interest rate you would pay on to pay for a stock. So because the call option is cheaper, the amount of money that you would otherwise have had to have spent on the stock itself comes into play. So the higher the interest rate, the more valuable the call is. Now, the opposite is true for a put, and the opposite is true in terms of the spot strike differential. So obviously, you want the price to go down. It allows you to sell it. So it's the opposite in terms of what it is for the call. Now, there are also other things that people talk about, and they talk about the Greeks. What are these things? So there's delta, gamma, vega, theta, and rho. These things measure an option's sensitivity to changes in the factors that we talked about on the previous slide. So if you think about delta, it is the option's sensitivity to a change in the spot price, or the actual market price there, okay? And these sensitivities are true for very, very small changes. Gamma is a sensitivity of the change in delta. Vega is a sensitivity to the options price in terms of changes in volatility. Theta, again, sensitivity of the change in the option price due to the time of maturity. Now, theta, of course, slowly decays over time. And rho is the change in the price subject to its sensitivity, subject to changes in interest rates. So these are all something to keep in mind. People will talk about these, but we're really just talking about sensitivity. How much will changes in the underlying variables, spot, strike, volatility, time to maturity, and interest rates affect the option prices? These will vary by time. These will vary by option, etc. One last thing to keep in mind is there is a relationship between a call price and a put price. It's called the put-call parity. The idea here is that given the same stock, the same price, the exercise price, and the same date of expiration, that this relationship should hold, where the price of the call is equal to the discounted exercise price plus the current price plus the put. Okay, so that is basic put-call parity. You might often see, this is kind of basic discounting here of that exercise price. You might see it with E to represent continuously compounded discounting. So I will discuss more later in terms of different combinations of options, but I wanted to make sure you understood kind of the basic components of option pricing, because a lot of these strategies where you're combining options are plays on things such as time decay and how the impact of time into the price slowly declines as that time shortens. Anyway, thanks so much for listening. I hope you find that at least somewhat useful.